All right, guys, so today I'm going to show you how to use a master list within your email account that collects all of your subscribers into one list. And then you'll be able to create segments off of the different sources that they probably came from. One thing that I see a lot, especially in a lot of my client accounts before I start working with them, is I see that they have many different lists in their account. So they'll have a list that's for their main newsletter. Then they'll have a list that's for their contest. So they want to, every contest that they run has a separate list. Maybe they're using Dojo Mojo, and then they have a list for that. The September contest. Then they have a list for their affiliate list, and then they have a list because they collected pop-ups with JustUno, and then maybe they went to a live event and had a booth there, and then they have a list sign up from that event. Whatever it is, it leads to way too many lists in your account, and it just leads to messiness. It's unorganized. It makes it harder to track your list growth as a whole over time. If you want to say, hey, how many people joined my list last week over week, you're going to have to look into every single list and see that growth added up across all the lists. Rather than if you had a master list, that master list would show you. The way it would break down is that we would break down where each of those sources came from. So I particularly use Klaviyo, and I'm going to use it in this example. It doesn't mean that you can't do this in any other email provider. You likely can. Either they'll allow you to customize your source fields, which is the way Klaviyo does it, or even if they don't, you should be able to customize your custom fields, and then whatever email opt-in source you're using, hopefully you should be able to customize it from there. I'm going to show you an example using JustUno, which is a tool that I use a lot for my pop-ups, and I'll show you how we'd customize the source name from there and where it would show up in my Klaviyo account. So first things first, let me just show you what it is that I am explaining here and what it would look like, what it looks like now. So in my account, you'll see that we have, okay, this is our master newsletter. You can call it whatever you want. I call it subscriber source number 1, the main newsletter. So every time I'm connecting or integrating my Klaviyo account with whatever opt-in tool I'm using, I will say, hey, that tool will ask me, where do you want us to send the emails to, the new email signups to? And I'll say, send it to subscriber source number 1 newsletter. That's where all the emails would go. Great. Then what I do, and I'll show you where I do this in a tool such as JustUno, is I go into that tool and I customize the name of that source. So you can obviously easily say it's just JustUno, it comes from JustUno, but I tend to run a lot of different opt-in promos in JustUno, and then they each serve different purposes. So I will name what that opt-in, that pop-up form says. So this was the winter pop-up for $10 off. Boom, I'll put that name in, and I'll name it in JustUno, so that way it comes into my list that way. If it's coming from the Shopify checkout page, that's where that name will come in. Now, one thing to note is that you'll be able to create segments in Klaviyo off of those sources. And the way you would create a segment, so very easily you just go into your list and segments in your Klaviyo account, click on segment, and then let's say I wanted to collect the back in stock subscribers. I would then create back in stock. I'm going to go back and show you where I can do this, say in JustUno, so the other end of this. But I'm going to go into properties, about someone, and I'm going to search for source, because that's where I'm telling any of my other tools, my JustUno tools, where it's coming from. So I type in source, and then let's say I type in back in stock because that's where it was coming. And then I go ahead and create that segment. So now I don't have to have a back in stock list. I have a back in stock segment that grows as much as my back in stock list grows. Now, everyone is being added into that main newsletter list who comes from my back in stock. I don't need to add them onto a separate list. If I ever need to email just the back in stock people, or if I ever need to import the back in stock people anywhere, I can do that. I can use this segment to send out an email campaign. I can export this segment into a CSV if I needed to maybe upload it, and maybe if I were going to do a Facebook ad, I can export that. Or you can obviously link your Klaviyo account to Facebook and it would do it that way. But whatever it is, you can do a lot of things. You don't need to have a separate list for that. So that is all you need to do. So the next thing, let me back up a bit just to show you how it would work out when you're in one of your opt-in tool providers. So JustUno is one of the tools that I'm going to show you right now. So this is the JustUno account that I use. And I'm going to just create a quick promotion really quick just to show you. And let's just get through that process. Now there's a nice little feature. I like the way that JustUno does it. Not all tools do this, unfortunately. You're just going to have to see how they let you customize your source fields. I'm just going to select this theme just to go. It's fine, build a basic audience, and just get into the design of your JustUno tool. Now, once you're in your JustUno tool, you're gonna look for that connection that gets you connected to your Klaviyo account. So if you click on this email box over here, that's where you're gonna be able to start connecting your tools. So click on Change Form, because we wanna change the integration type. I'm going to connect my provider, connect my ESP provider, go down to Klaviyo, and now, so normally if you didn't have your Klaviyo API connected, you would have to go into Klaviyo, get your API and connect it. That's just another step, another tutorial, but I already have mine connected, so it didn't go through that step. I'm going to hit next. And then here's where I'm going to search for that master newsletter source that I told you about. So down here, I'm going to hit next. And then here, the email address is being collected. Perfect. Now, what I want to do is add another custom field. It's going to be a hidden custom field that I'm creating behind the scenes of the form that's going to pass over the name of the promotion. So that way I'll know in my master newsletter source, every email that was collected came from this 20% welcome pop-up. So that's what I'm going to tell it, because I named my pop-up 20% welcome or 20% spin meter, whatever it is. So I hit custom field. When it's set where it says select custom field type, choose single line text. And then here I'm going to enter in source, because that's the way Klaviyo reads that custom field for the newsletter, as $source. Save that custom field. Now scroll down right here, and I'm going to edit this by clicking that pencil icon. I'm going to just open up this settings right here. So one, I want to make sure it's hidden because I don't want this to show up, obviously. And then right here, this is what we're looking for, the auto populate. So we want, what we're saying, we're just leaving everything else as is, but because we labeled it source, it's going to say, well, what do you want to show as the value for the source? So remember here when we created a segment, source is the name of the field. The value name we gave it was back in stock. I want to give it a name. In this case, I'm just going to name it. You can name it. You can put a default name in there if you want or something else. But in this case, I just want to keep it simple and name it after my promotion, because I name all of my pop-up promotions of what they are. Welcome 20%, banned in cart 10%, whatever it is. So I'm going to auto-populate it with the promotion name. And then that's it. I'm going to hit save, and then that's it. So now I see that this source field, it's hidden, and it will auto-populate with the promotion name. So the email address will go into my Klaviyo account, and then the source that gives the promotion name will go into my Klaviyo account. That's it. I hit next, I save it, hit next, go through the same process. I create the form, and then that is it. Once you create that form, it will be ready. And again, so anytime someone submits this email address, I'm not going to do it here because this is a real account and I don't want to actually send this fake data over. But once someone fills out their email, hits submit to send in their email address, that person's email address will go over to your Klaviyo account, and then that source field will now show up with the promotion names that I spoke about. Actually, I'm going to show you one more thing because this will be a good example for where you can find where you can do it in Klaviyo. So if you don't use JustUno as your pop-up and you want to use Klaviyo sign-up forms, you can do that. So if you, let's see, let me do this one. So this is just a regular demo pop-up, nothing really special about it. But in your pop-up, if you use a pop-up in Klaviyo, now Klaviyo does make it easy for you to do this because it is their account, so it makes it easy, obviously. But if you click on your CTA button here, so the subscribe button, if I click on that, the editing field will open up here. So as you can see, it says which list do you want it to go to. So I chose go to that master list, subscriber source number 1. Great. Now here, Klaviyo already has it auto-populated with source, so you can leave that as is. It doesn't have the $ because this is the Klaviyo account. Klaviyo calls it source, so you don't need to customize anything here. Just leave it as is, as source. And then you can rename the value. So Klaviyo will name it to whatever your promotion name is. So again, following the same format that I used in JustUno. If you didn't want to use that format, you can go ahead and create your own new format and call it flyer 20%. And just hit create new, create this option. So you don't have to do that. You can just use the naming convention of the promo name, which is pretty standard. So that's all you would do. Then you would publish that. And same thing, when someone fills out this form, they're going to sign up. They're going to go into your list and they're going to be under the source. So you can create a segment of people whose source value equals flyout, cart, checkout. And that's it. All right, so go ahead and give it a try. Let me know if you have any questions. Drop your questions in the comment. It should work. If you're using some other kind of tool to integrate with your Klaviyo account and you don't have as much customizations, there still should be a way around it. At the very least, what I would say is still point, if there's no way you can customize the name, the source name, still point that tool over to your source list, your master newsletter. And what you can do is, what will normally happen if you can't customize the name, it will go into Klaviyo as API. It's kind of unfortunate because it will kind of start clumping all the APIs together and you really can't distinguish. But it's still better than having it just live somewhere in another list. If you know, at least you'll know, let's say if this is the only tool that doesn't really let you customize, you'll know that anything that says API belongs to that, XYZ tool. It's rare, most tools are letting you customize these days. So give it a try. Let me know if you like this post. Go ahead and give it a like. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel if you want to, and hopefully see you in the comments.